All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending. We will wait just a couple minutes for everyone to log on here. All right. A couple more people are still logging on, so we'll give it a couple more seconds. All right, we'll get started. Good morning, and thank you everyone for attending the DME Webinar Series. Today's presenter is Brian Bullard, for sales engineer from Slide Products, and he's going to be sharing valuable insights on optimizing cycle times and maximizing molding performance. My name is Mark Zaborny, and I am the marketing manager here at DME. As I said, this webinar is going to be part of our monthly webinar series where we bring industry-leading expertise and practical solutions for injection molding and mold building operations. I'm particularly excited to announce that next month's webinar will be in collaboration with Mold Making Technologies magazine. So be sure to mark your calendars for in September. Before we dive into today's presentation, just a couple housekeeping items. If you have any questions for Brian at Slide or for DME, please submit them into the chat and we will answer those at the end of the presentation. If you haven't already, I encourage you to follow DME on LinkedIn and on YouTube, where we share some of our product information, some industry insights, and also our upcoming webinars. You can also register for all future webinars and view all previous webinars if you go to our website at dme.net/webinar, dme.net/webinar. Of course, for this webinar, we will be sending out the presentation slide deck, all the links, all product brochures, and a recording as well for you to view later on. Again, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will answer them. Now, without further delay, let me turn it over to Brian Bullard from Slide Products to begin our presentation. Brian, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mark. Good morning, everybody. Thanks to DME for allowing me to host this month's webinar. Appreciate it. Been looking forward to this. I'm a sales technician or factory rep, whatever the fancy term you want to call me, for Slide Products. I cover the southern belt, quote unquote, southern belt of the United States. That's Alabama to Southern California, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and including the border towns of Mexico. So I do quite a bit of traveling, and I quite enjoy, of course, working with DME, and they're a good distributor partner of ours, carrying our line of products, and I always enjoy working with their reps in the field. All right, so I'm gonna kind of get going on this PowerPoint. I can barely walk and chew gum at the same time, so hopefully I can remember each slide as I go here. So, at the risk of boring everybody to death, I did want to give a brief history of Slide, just so you know who we are, where we came from. Slide was founded in 1953 by a gentleman named Percy Harms. Mr. Harms was a steel salesman, calling on tooling companies in the early 50s, and he soon saw a recurring issue with molders. They were having trouble with parts sticking to their molds, of course, negatively impacting productivity. So Mr. Harms' solution was to put silicone oil in an aerosol can, resulting in Slide's first mold release and the founding of the Percy Harms Aerosol Company. So soon he was selling his line of aerosols on the side, as well as still maintaining his steel sales job. But within a decade, he had to dedicate all this time to his aerosol company. And in another 10 years, he had moved us to Wheeling, Illinois to produce our products in-house. So in 1959 became Percy Harms Corporation, and then 1993 renamed Slide Products. A common theme with Slide is our innovation, creativity. You can see right at the beginning, you know, him putting silicone oil in a aerosol can. He's figuring out how to help customers, and that's what we do. You see on this slide a couple of highlights here, but in 2015, because of the demand of our growth, we revamped our entire production line, replaced with newer and faster equipment. Okay, so why use Slide? Before I get into the meat and potatoes, which will be products, I did want to brag on us. Just a couple of things to add to, you know, why use Slide. No chlorinated solvents. Back in 2011, the EPA recognized trichloroethylene as a carcinogen. Before these findings came out, actually months before, we had already changed everything out to where we were not using chlorinated solvents. It just, it wasn't needed. It was an unnecessary risk for our customers. We were able to make a product that worked just as well, if not better, without chlorinated solvents. So we decided then to do it, and then it was confirmed by the EPA that we made the right choice. It just never surprises me. It's unbelievable though. I'll see it almost every trip I go, and there'll be a product on the shelf that I have a chlorinated, trichloroethylene in it. I'll show it to the customer on the back of the can, and they have no idea what it is. So please, be aware and know what your employees are using and breathing in. You can just have peace of mind when using Slide, that we're going to be as safe as possible in this industry. We also have our SHARP program, Slide Hazardous Aerosol Return Program. This is a really cool thing that you can participate in. It's a green initiative on your books. You'll actually save money. We'll do this for free for you. You just have to send back Slide cans only, empty aerosol cans. Just pull the tips. Do not crush them. Throw them in an empty Gaylord box and ship them back to us. If you're a company that's disposing of your spent aerosol cans properly, then you're likely using an expensive environmental agency. So we can save you money. It'll save you, we estimate, between 10 and 12 cents a can to use us. So it'll keep all of the waste out of our landfills and waterways. It's a green initiative on your book, save you a few bucks. So it's a really cool deal. We also are affiliated with the One Tree Planted organization. It's a nonprofit group working in 43 different countries. Over 30 million trees have been planted. So we work with them. If someone places an order online on our website, we donate to plant a tree and then offer you also the chance to do that on the order. You can, for just $1, donate a tree, plant a tree. So pretty cool. And then before I move on to that, and then one more thing, just with us just trying to be environmentally conscious. We put solar panels on our building a few years ago, and it generates almost half of the power we need for the year. So trying to erase that carbon footprint. Another benefit to Slide is our top tier service. So we can come in and give you a free productivity assessment, me or one of the other reps, free purging consultation, or best practices training. Free samples. So we're going to get into those products here in a second, but as a wise person once told me, the proof is in the pudding and the eating. And so we will give you samples to try out. We just ask that you do a good test, a thorough test, make notes, record your findings, and that way you can see the benefits of using our product line. So you can get on our website, request samples. You can call me, ask me, email me, ask your DME rep. They can do that, or get with me in order to send you free samples. And then of course a visit from Slide, which is kind of just piggybacking on the top tier service. So as far as I know, when I go into a plant and I see the competitor can on the shelf, I've asked, and I've never had anybody tell me, yes, I've seen the rep from that company, only Slide. So that's what we do. So we can come in there with your local DME rep. We can see if there's any problems that the customer you're having, if there's any issues or any gaps. And sometimes you don't, know until we come in there and we can figure out a way to help you along with your efficiency. So that's a pretty big deal. Our customer service, our technical support, being there for the distributor and the customer. All right, now we get into the meat and potatoes here. So I'm definitely not gonna get into all of the products, but I wanted to show you that we've got a crossover tool. This is on our website. You can plug in the product you're using, select the part number, and then it'll give you a cross-reference. We've got many of the competitors on there, but maybe not necessarily all of them. But and if you can't figure it out, just give us a shout. All right, let's talk about mold releases. So like I said, I'm not going to get into all the product. We'll be here forever if we're doing that, and I don't want to put anybody to sleep. What I'm going to do is go through the products, do some of the heavy hitters, share the details or characteristics and what they're used for, and then I'll give a quick example of how we've helped the customer with the product at the end of each one. So for the mold releases, you see on the screen there 5 cans. So I'm going to start with the Purees, that purple can on the left. The Purees is our #1 seller for mold releases. It is food approved. It's a non-silicone, so it's paintable. It is it's pretty light duty. It's very versatile. So we've got, I'd say primarily our medical and food packaging customers are using the Purees, but I've seen it used on just about anything, even rubber for compression molding. So that one will work on just about everything. Now, if you're needing something that's more heavy duty, we've got other options, and we'll get into a couple of those. So the Economist, you see there, that blue can on the right, you see the word econo in it. Of course, that means it's a more economical option for silicone, if you will. So it's got 3% silicone in it. It's probably one of our biggest sellers of silicone. fantastic product. It's NSF certified, and it's a dry release, goes on dry. So we sell a lot of this, even a lot of food packaging, and some medical also. We'll just jump to the silicone, the other purple can, the silicone. That's our heaviest duty silicone spray. So that's 5%, and that is a food approved silicone mold release. So real heavy duty. Now, the knockout and the heavy duty 10% that you're seeing there. So the knockout is that red can and the green can there, and the 10%. These are both glycol based. So they're not silicone, they're glycol based. If you are having trouble with something sticking, but you can't use silicone, if you need it to be paintable or whatever, the knockout is the way to go. So the difference between the knockout and the heavy duty 10% is knockout is 5% glycol, and the heavy duty 10% is 10%. So these are items I sell just about every day. We've got a plethora of other options, but as I mentioned, I did not want to get bogged down with too many. That heavy duty 10% mold release also is used for the front 10% of ejector pins, which we will get into in a couple minutes. Moving right along, so case study. I had a story that was recent for me, and I wanted to share it with how we help the customer solve an issue with mold release. So I've got a large customer. They're making large storage bins, totes, storage type of products, very large molds. This is stuff you'd probably see on the shelves at various department stores, that sort of thing. And very large molds, very deep draws, and they were using a heavy duty silicone from a competitor. Very heavy duty, high concentration of silicone. And this customer got started with us with our super grease and our mold cleaner 4. But when I got to visit with them and tour the plant, I asked them about the silicone, and they said, well, we've got these really difficult parts. They like to stick. It's very detailed and molds and deep draws. So we were recommended this heavy duty silicone. Well, as I'm walking around the plant, I noticed they've got stickers on their finished parts. So I asked them, are you having any trouble with your stickers staying on the your cans or bins or whatever the item would be? And of course they said, well yeah, we're having trouble with them sticking. Sometimes they fall off before we get them on the truck, and sometimes we get complaints later. So that was obviously because of the silicone. And a lot of you out there are probably shaking your head going, well, duh, but sometimes you don't know until someone tells you, or until we get in there and get our eyeballs on what the problem is. So they switched to the heavy duty 10%, and they've not looked back. So that was how we helped that particular customer. All right, let's go to mold cleaners. So our mold cleaners, the mold cleaner 4, that red can, that is our number1 seller, period. That is a favorite. It is it's a hard blasting, flushing, solvent-based cleaner, and it's fast evaporating. So it's a favorite because of those characteristics. It comes out hard and fast. It blasts and flushes and cleans, and it evaporates quickly, so that leaving no residue. And it is NSF certified. So this is one of those items you can sell just about any industry because it's got that NSF certification. Most of y'all probably know the difference between food approved and NSF. I've just popped in my brain. I better just specify. Most of y'all probably know, but I'm just going to say it anyway in case you don't know. So food approved is basically, it's the honor system. We tell you what's in the can, you trust us. That's food approved. We meet those standards. And if food approved is all the customer needs, great. But we also have many options that are NSF certified. So NSF means we just had it certified by the National Sanitation Foundation. Some companies require that, like that little bit of extra assurance, if you will. So let's talk about the next gen. So that green can right there. So the two that I see selling the most, they're just fantastic products, is the Mold Cleaner 4, which is our #1 seller, and then the next gen. The next gen is not a fast evaporator. It is a soy and citrus-based cleaner. So it's going to hang around. It will require wiping off. But it's pretty heavy duty because it sits there and it works. So depending on the application, if you're needing to clean on the press in between shots every so often on a warm or hot mold, the next gen is a good option for that. We do have another option. I don't have it on the screen. It's called OnCycle. It was actually created for that purpose years ago, and then when we made the next gen, it just happens to have that characteristic also. So we've got several options. If you're wanting a mold cleaner that's great for on the press on warm molds, the next gen would be a good option, and the Mold Cleaner 4 for cold cleaning when you get it off the press and offline. The IPA you see right there in that gray can. So this is, unfortunately, it's not as cool as it sounds. It's not IPA, but it's isopropyl alcohol is what it is. And this is, we actually designed this for a customer years ago, put it in a can. I don't think anybody had done it before we did it. This is before I even came on board with Slide. But the customer needed alcohol, but you know, they just couldn't get to where they needed to with using a rag and alcohol. But they needed to use alcohol per their specs. So every month they order, you know, however many cases, and we put little straws in there for them, and they use those straws and they get in all the little nooks and crannies of their mold. So it's a pretty cool deal because with the IPA, we sell that to, I mean, everybody from plastics people to people working with glass. We've got a customer that does glass work, glass partitions, you know, just designs offices, that sort of thing, and high rises. What they do is they bring our IPA along, and when they do their install, they do their final cleaning with it. So it's pretty cool. So most companies out there, they're buying a 55-gallon drum of alcohol. They are then having their employee or employees, or you know, whoever is pumping the alcohol into a bottle. That bottle needs to be labeled, or OSHA can issue a fine. There's possibility of spilling, of evaporation, of waste. With the IPA, it's all in an aerosol form. It's atomized, so it comes out perfectly. It's the best presentation of it. It goes in your flammables cabinet. It's portable, and that label is on there, so you don't have to worry about somebody's sweaty hands wiping off the marker or whatever coming off of that bottle and then getting in trouble later because you don't have it properly labeled. So the IPA is just a fantastic product, and I sell it just to a million different types of industries. The exempt and the blue can, all that is acetone. It's just acetone with a solvent and a propellant. So when it comes out, it's just acetone. So we've got this labeled for California, although all of our items are, of course, legal to use, sell and use in California. We did label this one specifically for them. It only contains EPA exempt VOC compounds, so it's exempt. So there you have it. But it's a good little product. I mean, we even sell it to people that cleaning their spray guns and their spray booths, doing automotive. So it's pretty cool. Another great item I wanted to mention is the resin remover. So this one, I've got customers. I've gone into places where the only thing they have is resin remover and of slide, and they know, they might not use anything else, but they know about the resin remover. It is a very, very old favorite. It's a fantastic product, and what this one is designed for is people who are molding with like PVC. You've got all this nasty, carbon buildup, outgassing, played out. And what you do is you spray it on the hot mold and you run a couple shots and it draws off that buildup. So in an 8-hour shift, a customer might use it however often they need to keep going and having their parts coming out with no problems or issues. So it actually works best on a hot mold, not as well on something cold. So it's a pretty cool product. It's very heavy duty, very heavy duty. The mold wipes we've got there, very versatile, great for clean rooms, lint-free cloths, and then the mold polish, of course, for final cleaning or detail work if you need to on molds. A story, an example I wanted to share of cleaners. We had a blow molder. They were blow molding. They were running polycarbonate, but their blowing agent, the blow molding agent, was flashing off and burning. So it's leaving like a lacquer-like gunk, and we ended up. They were having trouble. They couldn't clean it, and also wanting to clean at the mold and while it's running online, so it was hot. So what we ended up doing was recommending our Next Gen, that green can, that citrus and soy based cleaner, and a Scotch-Brite pad. Knock it loose and it comes right out. So that was a neat little example I wanted to share. Cleaners. Looks like I might even run out of time here. I'm trying to go as fast as I can. Okay, rust preventants. So rust preventives. Now, really, obviously I'm biased. I love what I sell, but the rust preventives are really cool. We have so much luck getting people switched over to our product because of the ease of use and how well it works. That green can there, the Mold Shield, that is a dry rust preventive. It's a 2-year. This product is awesome because it saves you time and money by the fact that it just flashes off, so you don't have to clean it before putting it back on the press and starting production again. So, and it's not just a topical rust preventive like a lot of competitors are. So it's not only is it making a barrier, but it's active. So if somebody touches that mold after they've applied the Mold Shield, if they touch it with bare hands, you get fingerprint acid on there, it will neutralize fingerprint acid. So great product. And it's one step. Everything we have is one step. The Quick RP there in the picture you see right next to it, that is the same thing. It's just Mold Shield, but it's got a red dye indicator in it. So that's for, so you can see what you're hitting. It'll flash off too. Might just take an extra shot or two, but it flashes off also. The no rust, the yellow can, now that's a heavy duty rust preventive. I mean, that goes on, it's kind of got a brown yellow tint to it. It's a 5-year rust preventive, and you will have to clean it when you put the mold back on the press. Oh, I should say this. It's crazy. I get this question so often. Yeah, well, we keep our molds in the yard, out in the yard. Do you have anything that'll prevent rust? And that's not what it's designed for. It might help, but it's not what it's designed for. So what I tell people is a roof and 4 walls. If you've got your mold stored within a building with a roof and 4 walls, the no rust will work for 5 years. That white rhino there you see on the right, that is our NSF certified rust preventive. So if you need, in your case, if you've got, whatever it's medical or food or whatever the application is for that product, the white rhino does have that NSF certification if you need it. And that's a 2-year rust preventive. And then we've got the acid vapor neutralizer there on the left, you see there. And once again, this is a 1-step, and this is great for PVC, anything with flame retardant in it, those nastier resins that create outgassing. That's what that one's for. All right, so a little example I had for this one. It's pretty cool. This is one of my colleagues had customer making the large industrial sized garbage cans, the kind you see on the side of the road that the truck picks up, those big ones. So they've got huge molds, very deep draws, and they were having trouble with rusting. They were applying rust preventive. They had rust preventive. They tried everything, and the management was just adamant that, rust preventives, if they're not applied carefully, they're just going to be uneven. They're going to leave areas, vulnerable to rust, that sort of thing. And we went in there, and all we did was brought in the quick RP with the red eye indicator. So you can see exactly what you're hitting. And I like to say this too. People think whether it's mold releases or rust preventives, they always think more, they tend to think more is better. Well, actually less is more when it comes to our products. Our products are, from start to finish, the can, the tip, everything is designed specifically, the formulation, everything, with care. So that when applying the quick RP rust preventive, just like the mold shield, you're just going to start at the top, 8 to 12 inches away, just an even coat. But with the quick RP, you can see what you've hit, and a lot of times it's all you need is just to know what you've hit, instead of having to use like a real heavy duty rust preventive and then creating work later. So that was a really cool win. And that company buys a lot of that product from us in order to protect their molds, and they don't have any issues now. So, all right, real quick, the super grease and heavy duty 10%. So mentioned the heavy duty earlier in the mold releases. It's called a mold release, but we also recommend it for the front 10% of your ejector pins. So back 90% uses super grease, and the front 10% mold 10% mold release heavy duty. So the super grease, this is an NSF certified PTFE based grease. It's opaque, so it's almost clear. It comes in aerosol form or the grease form. So this is withstands high temperatures also. So, it's designed for, ejector pins working all day, a lot of friction and a lot of heat. It's a fantastic product. The story I've got for that one, this is one of those ones where it kind of seems like duh, but sometimes people don't know, and you gotta help figure out what the problem is. But they were having trouble. They were saying that their grease that they were using was underperforming and it was turning black. And so we did a little investigative work. They were using a lithium grease, and the temperature rating was 225 Fahrenheit. So it was, and they needed between 350 and 500. So what was happening was then it'll wear out, kind of dissipate. The heat would make it start breaking down, and then they would spray WD-40 in there to keep going through the shift. Well, then you've got double trouble because you've got a solvent going in and attacking what was already an inferior grease. So in this case, this customer would just switch to the super grease, period. They use super grease on the whole ejector pin, and it solved the problem. We see that type of thing every day. It's just a great product. You just need to try it out. It's awesome. Just a picture there. All right, and then we've got MRO and accessories. So real quick, the penetrant plus there on the screen, that is my favorite item we have in our MRO column. It's what you think WD-40 does, this actually does. This is like WD-40 on steroids. It's basically a 3-in-1. So it'll penetrate. So if you got something that's rusted up, it'll bust it loose. So it'll penetrate. It's a good cleaner. It'll lubricate. I mean, I've got customers that use it running a bandsaw blade. I've seen that done instead of using tappet or cutting oil, which we have. They'll use the penetrant plus. But it leaves a light rust preventive behind and lubricant. It cleans it, and it will bust loose, penetrate, and attack rust. So that you could use that anywhere, sell that anywhere. If anybody could use that, and it's a fantastic product. We've got our accessories. If you've got questions about that stuff, you can ask me or send me a note. But we've got the Freedom Spray unit, so that's something you can put on your mold press. You can program it, every 5 shots, every 3 shots, it'll spray a nice even coat of one of our mold releases. So we got several other options for our if you want to use our products in liquid form. Okay, so real quick, I think this is, we're getting close. So we've got a line of purging compounds. We've got several options, and depending on what the application is. So just real quickly, and once again, you guys, a lot of the people listening will probably know some of these facts, but just going to do my spiel anyway and kind of brag on why our purging compound is so great. So most of our competition out there they're really just a mechanical purge. Ours is chemical. So the main difference is mechanical purge is using physical, just scrubbing friction in order to clean. And then a chemical purge, of course, activates, and it has basically soaping agents that will attack resin and carbon buildup in the screw and barrel. So it's more thorough, way more thorough than a mechanical purge. A mechanical purge can't work backwards like a chemical purge can, as far as that screw turning. So those flights will have buildup on them. And there's only so much you can do with mechanical purge. So chemical purge will basically you want to prevent downtime, right? Downtime is the most expensive thing. You know, you're paying employees to stand around, you got a machine that's not making anything, or you've got QC issues, you know, parts coming out with specs or streaking. So we've got, you know, our Econo Purge, we've got the Purgatory for nylon, for PVC, we've got High Temp for peak, and just a couple other options. But you know, we'll sample this and come do a test with you if you'll allow it. You know, basically I just kind of went through all that. So the purge cost calculator, you can, so yes, there's some cheap purging compound out there. Yes, I'm not gonna beat around the bush there. You're gonna have to think about the downtime, lost, you know, parts, QC issues, wasted resin, all those things. And if you punch in your info in the purge cost calculator, we can give you an estimate versus the other one. You know, how much you're using, which type it is, what type of resin, all that stuff, and kind of it'll give you a breakdown and an estimate. Now, like I said, proof is in the pudding and the eating. So we'll send you some to try out if you want. Okay, so I wanted to give you an example. This is a customer of mine, automotive manufacturer. They were using one of our competitors, and it was taking them over 2 hours, and they were using polypropylene, working with polypropylene, and it was taking them over 2 hours to get from black to clear. I went in there with the Econo Purge, and with a 15-minute soak in 7 shots, we had them up and going. So 20 minutes, we had them up and going, black to clear with no problems. So they ordered a Gaylord on the spot. So that was just a real good example of how thorough, how quick, and how good our product, our purging compound works. All right, to summarize this whole thing and kind of put it all in a bundle and a nice little bow on it. The advantages of slide aerosol products: ease of use, precision, clean coating, fast drying, convenient, no chlorinated solvents, SAR program, all the stuff we've talked about. So I guess, oops, and there's my info right there. So Mark, that is it for my presentation. I guess it's time for questions. Y'all are ready.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian. This is really, really good stuff on here. Again, anybody here, if you have questions, just put them into the chat and we will get into them. We already had a few questions coming in right now. First one that we have is, with so many different mold release options in your offering, how do I know which one is best for my application?
Yeah, good question. We get asked that a lot. Basically, you need to ask the right questions. You know, we've got a million options, you know, whether it's one specifically for polycarbonate, whether you need something for rubber, you know, or something, you know, whether it's just something simple or even silicone, working with silicone. So ask the right questions. We've got on our website or in our catalog, there's a chart that'll kind of help you along. Now, first easy thing is to call me, call your DME rep, and we can give you a recommendation. But ask the right questions. Does this need to be paintable? Is this going to be, you know, in the medical or food industry or market? You know, how detailed are the molds? Is this a deep draw? What type of resin are we working with? You know, if you ask those questions, that chart will help you. There's a chart, you know, we can send that link, get that link to you, but it's on the website and in our catalog, in the digital catalog. So, you know, you just kind of go across and, well, I'm working with polypropylene, and this is a medical application, et cetera, and you can figure it out that way. So, but ultimately, you know, talk to us and we'll help you figure out the best solution. I get calls or emails all the time, and it'll be like, hey, do you have a crossover to this? Now, like I showed you earlier, we've got the crossover tool. You can cross over many items. But sometimes, you know, there might be a product recommendation we've got because you might be using possibly something that's not ideal. And then we don't want to cross you over to the exact same thing. But ultimately, ask the right questions or you know, call us or the DME rep and we'll get you steered in the right direction.
Perfect. All right, second question we have is, we mold in mold labels. There's ghosting buildup in the molds. Have you experienced with the stripper removing ghosting? So we don't have to use mold polish that is time consuming. Let me say that again. Again, we mold in mold labels. There's ghosting buildup on our molds. Have you experienced using the stripper removing ghosting so you don't have to use mold polish?
So I might need a little more info, and I guess, and if we need to do this, finish this question later, possibly. What's the mold made out of? What's the? You said stickers. We're removing sticker, or we're removing resin?
It says just removing ghosting.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So this is a matter of figuring out, because the stripper is really heavy duty, so it's got to be on a steel mold, and you don't want it touching anything. I wouldn't even want it to touch a plastic part. I wouldn't want it to touch anything that's, you know, paint or anything like that. So if I get more info, I could tell you, but it's you know, it's meant for heavy hot mold, steel, and heavy heavy duty nastier resin. So it might be a little bit overkill, but maybe if you know, if you want to shoot me an email, we can get some more detail. Help you out.
Okay, next question we have is, what would you suggest for cleaning PU molding molds made of aluminum? As info, ethylene glycol is making a good job. We can have the mold soak in a pail with ethylene glycol in it.
So you said it's urethane we're cleaning off? Is that what it said?
Yeah, PU molding molds. What would you suggest for cleaning PU molding molds made of aluminum?
Yeah, so the next gen cleaner. I would suggest the next gen cleaner.
Yes, polyurethane. Okay.
Yep. So that would be my suggestion. Yeah, I've got customers using it in that application. The next gen, that's the green can, the 46410.
Awesome. All right, if anybody else has questions, please put them into the chat. We have another question here. We're having trouble with rust and pinning at our molds. We use a short-term rust preventive on most of our molds used for PET, PP, and ABS, and a 2-part acid vapor neutralizer for our molds that run PVC. We are still seeing damage to all the molds when we open them up. Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah. So most likely what's happening is, well, this reminds me of a story. So we had a customer that was having a similar situation, and what ended up happening was they were mostly doing whatever other resin it was. They had one mold press, and it was doing PVC, and that was what was happening. So they really needed, we suggested using acid vapor neutralizer on all the molds, even though it was only a handful of molds on one press that were using PVC, because it'll float around, it'll get everywhere. So that's probably what's happening.
Okay. All right. Any other questions out there for Brian or DME? Right here. Does your mold release? Let's see. Does your mold release are your mold releases only available in a spray can?
No, we offer in liquid or bulk also. So you can get, I think, 1 gallon, 5 gallon, 55 gallon, or you can use an aerosol form. Aerosol form is the best way to apply it, but we have lots of customers that are trying to, save some money by going the bulk route, and they have, no problems, no issues. It just does work a little bit different because it's not atomized. The application it's just a little bit different. But yes, to answer your question, we offer just about everything in aerosol and also in liquid form.
Awesome. Okay. Next question is about rust preventers. Are rust preventers used on mold blocks for production, or is it just for storage purposes?
Yeah, so we do have customers that are using it on anything else, mold blocks or the backside of the tooling. The only thing is like the mold shield will flash off if it gets too hot. That's how it's designed for. So you've got to keep that in mind. But it's petroleum based, so it's also a good lubricant as well as the rust preventive. So it's great for startup if it's on the mold over. You bring it out of storage, you put it on the press. But yeah, to answer your question, we do have customers that will use either the no rust or the mold shield. It just depends on what the environment's like and what the temperature is of what you're applying it to.
Okay. Again, if you guys have questions, please put them into the chat. We got a couple more here. If a customer is using another product, how can you find out what the equivalent slide product is?
Yeah, we've got that crossover tool on the website. So that's the first way and easiest way, the crossover tool. So you go on our website, it's under the resource tab. And you can cross it over there. Now, if it's an item that might be more obscure, it might not be listed, but we've got the heavy hitters on there. But as I mentioned before, that you can go that route, and it works for many times. But give us a shout. We can help you figure out what it is. We like to hear that application too, because we might have seen something else in the field. But your easy start is going to the crossover tool under the resources tab on our website, slideproducts.com.
Okay. And then we have a user who's asking about a non-spray can, since they have a better spray pattern using a refillable and pressurized can. So they're a pressurized can where we could use a different tip than the one they offer. So I think that was in reference to if it comes in different sizes or a different besides the spray can. So there's there. And then for the in mold labels, back to that question with the ghosting, I'd say they're using their molds are H13, and the label is charged, static charged when loaded. So
okay.
If that helps.
Yeah, so I would, if this person could send me an email or give me a shout. It's on the screen. My info's on the screen. I'll get some more. I'd like to talk to them, and then we can figure out.
Yep. So
right.
Yeah, definitely. We will reach out to. We'll connect you guys both together to make sure we're there.
Great. Yeah, that'd be good.
All right. So that was the last questions we have right now. So last call for questions. If we don't get any of that, I want to thank everybody for attending our webinar. Is great. And Brian, I want to thank you so much for the presentation and all this valuable information as well. A reminder to everyone, we will be sending out the slide deck, some brochures of all the products, along with a recording of the webinar, so you could watch this again, along with some other goodies as well. And you should have that probably by the end of the week before the holiday. on this one. Other than that, thank you everybody for attending. Thank you again, Brian and Slide. And we will see you guys next month for our next webinar. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Mark.